Tonight on KGW News, 1,000 homes still threatened by wildfire, while some near its path say they're feeling grateful.
What saved everything here was the amount of people that came in to help.
And as President Biden takes the podium to dismiss growing concerns he can't handle another term,
I'm in this to complete the job I started.
another Democrat from the Northwest expresses doubts. Then later,
His name's Tony, and I think he likes me.
finding hope and healing on horseback.
They make me realize who I am and what I am, and everything's okay.
The story behind a writing program bringing peace back to the lives of local veterans. Good evening, everyone. We begin at 11 with uncertainty in the race for the White House. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. This evening, in an hour-long news conference, President Biden defended his re-election bid amidst growing calls from members of his own party for him to step aside. NBC's Alice Barr has reaction from Washington.
Hey, buddy.
President Biden tonight closing out the NATO summit while battling an open question about his political future.
I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
In his first solo press conference in 8 months, the president defending his fitness for the job, saying he's taken 3 significant and intense neurological exams.
In each case, as recently as February, and they say I'm in good shape.
Under a microscope after his poor debate performance, Mr. Biden answered the first question about Vice President Harris with a fumble.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
Former President Trump seized on the gaffe online. The president fired back.
Listen to him.
The embattled president pushing back against the growing number of Capitol Hill Democrats calling for him to drop out of the race.
The best way to assure them is the way I assure myself, and that is, am I getting the job done?
He said he made a, quote, stupid mistake heading into the debate with an overloaded schedule.
I just got to just pace myself a little more. Pace myself.
While acknowledging the demands of the presidency.
If I slow down, I can't get the job done. That's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet. None.
President Biden looking to turn the page.
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
While sending a message to world leaders, members of his own party, and the American people. Reaction to the press conference was mixed from Capitol Hill. A few more Democrats called on President Biden to drop out of the race, but others praised his performance and command of the issues. The president set to campaign in Michigan tomorrow as he keeps trying to prove his path forward. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And today, another Northwest Democrat added her voice to those publicly expressing doubts about the president's ability to serve. In a statement, Washington Representative Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez implied President Biden should no longer be in office, a decision she said she came to after speaking with those in her district, which, keep in mind, she flipped from red to blue in 2022. So Gluesenkamp-Perez saying, quote, like most people I represent in Southwest Washington, I doubt the president's judgment about his health, his fitness to do the job, and whether he is the one making important decisions about our country rather than unelected advisors. She goes on to say Americans deserve to feel their president is fit enough to do the job. The crisis of confidence in the president's leadership needs to come to an end. The president should do what he knows is right for the country and put the national interest first. Well, just yesterday, veteran Congressman Earl Blumenauer, who is retiring this year, said Biden should drop out of the race in the interest of protecting democracy. Well, as for the Republican contender, former President Donald Trump was supposed to be sentenced today in his hush money trial, but his lawyers asked a New York judge to throw out the guilty verdict. This comes after the Supreme Court's decision last week around presidential immunity. A new sentencing date was set for mid-September while the court considers this request. Well, tonight we are continuing to keep an eye on the Larch Creek fire that is burning in Wasco County, which is now covering more than 10,000 acres. Up to 1,000 homes southwest of Dufur now sit in one of the 3 evacuation levels. The latest areas to be evacuated include the Pine Hollow and Wamak communities. Firefighters, which include crews from the Portland Metro, say keeping those houses safe is their top priority. 2 outbuildings have burned, but so far all homes have been saved. We spoke to a Tye Valley resident whose home just came within feet of the approaching fire line.
What saved everything here was the amount of people that came in to help. It was unbelievable. I mean, we had more firefighters and hotspot guys, and they were all over this. They jumped on it and got the DC-10s in, and it was like amazing.
Great to see. In a late night update, fire officials said they were hopeful the lower temperatures and calmer winds overnight will help them get a better handle on the fire there. New tonight, a family is trying to come to terms with the death of a security guard killed in Southeast Portland over the weekend in a drive-by shooting. Alma McCarty is in the newsroom after speaking with the victim's daughter tonight. Alma.
David, the medical examiner identified Walter Mulberry as the victim. He's been working as a security guard in that area, and he was at the time of the shooting. His daughter, Emily, says he had much more life left to live.
Just after 1 a.m. on July 7th, police lights, crime tape, and evidence markers covered a block of Southeast 9th Avenue. Portland police say dozens of rounds were fired, hitting multiple parked cars and 2 people. A 17-year-old expected to survive, and 49-year-old Walter Mulberry, who died at a hospital not long after. He was working in the area as a security guard when suspects fired shots from a moving car.
They wanted me to ID him based on his tattoos. Since obviously I can't be there since I'm in a different state, that was the only way I could do it. And as next of kin, they said I had to.
Emily Shute is Mulberry's daughter.
It didn't matter how much he was going without. It didn't matter how bad he put himself into debt or struggle or anything else. He would make sure that anybody had what they needed.
Selfless and kind, she says her dad was saving up, planning a trip to see her.
He loved his family. He was very much looking forward to coming out here to Kansas to meet his grandkids. You know, I just had 2 beautiful babies, and he was planning on coming out here to meet them.
Those plans cut short and replaced, Emily says, with grief and terrible loss.
He was a real person. He had a family. He wanted to live. He had a daughter. He has grandkids that he's never going to get to meet now. He had a dog. You know, he had a life. He had siblings. He had parents. He had an entire life, and it's gone.
Now, at this time, Portland police haven't released any information about possible suspects. Emily prays that anyone with information will come forward. David?
Yeah, just heartbreaking to hear her talk about it. Thank you, Alma. Appreciate your reporting. Tonight, Oregon's health authority says it is working with the hospital where thousands of patients in Portland may have been exposed to hepatitis or HIV. That includes 2,200 people seen at Providence Willamette Falls Medical Center in Oregon City, 2 people at Providence Portland, and 221 people at Legacy Mount Hood Medical Center. The possible exposures happened while patients were getting anesthesia through an IV. A doctor contracted through the Oregon Anesthesiology Group is accused of not following infection control practices. While Providence did not give dates of exposure, Legacy says the physician was contracted with them for 6 months starting last December. Providence says the risk of exposure is low, but they are mailing letters or sending MyChart messages to anyone who may have been impacted. The doctor in question no longer works for the group. Straight ahead on KGW News at 11, call it therapy with 4 hooves and a mane and a tail. Local veterans show us how horses are helping them get back in touch with themselves.
They're my counselors.
Being around them kind of gives you perspective.
And later, a lesson in raising an Olympian from the dad and coach who's always been by her side.
And we haven't seen much in the way of low clouds in the last couple of weeks, but we've got them back now, indicating the marine layer is back in full force, at least at the beaches, right? As far as what's next go, more sunny, warm weather. We'll let you know if we're going to warm up much next week.